Let's put out a predictive classification, outcome, or forecast in the forecast module. So you'll see we're within our ED dataset tracking patients throughout their stay in an emergency department. What we're going to want to predict here is the outcome of that patient's stay in the emergency department, whether or not they're going to be admitted into the hospital or discharged to go home freely. So what we want to do is build out a new configuration. I've got a new forecast, and we're going to call this admit versus discharge. Now that I've named it, we'll set our configuration up. By opening this up, you'll get a list of selections for the user to make. The first thing we'll want to do is define our attributes. A forecast can depend on a number of different things, including certain attributes within the dataset. So if there are certain attributes that strongly affect the outcome of that predictive classification, we want to mark those off so the system can weigh those more heavily. In this case, we'll use our comments field as a predictive attribute, which houses things like lab tests that the user may have ordered. Now, on the flip side of that, if there are things that we want to exclude from this predictive classification, certain activities that we don't want to use as part of predicting the outcome, we can allow the system to define one or more of these different events, and it will be excluded from the analysis altogether. The last thing we want to do here is build out our different outcomes. So I'm going to build an outcome for admit, and I'm going to build one for discharge. Now, this isn't binary. We can have more than just two outcomes. There can be multiple different outcomes here. In this case, we've only got two. The patient is going to be admitted or discharged. Once we've defined or created our outcomes, we want to set the events which signify that the outcome has occurred. So when a patient's been admitted, what do we expect to have happened? Well, that patient would have had an admitted event. You can add one or more events to this outcome. Now, similarly with discharge, we're going to add that the patient has been discharged. These are going to be our two outcomes, and we're going to run that analysis based on these factors, weighing the comments attribute in analyzing the outcome of those events. So once we've got this configuration set, we would hit OK. And then what we can do is train the system based on the historical data that we've already got loaded to be able to predict based on those different components that we defined. Now, if I were to train, it's going to ask me to save this, and I would click Start Training Now. In the interest of time, I'm not going to run the training now. It typically takes 3 to 5 minutes to train the system based on the volume of data and the complexity of data that is now loaded. I want to switch over to one that I've already got here, which has been trained using the exact same scenario. Once the system has been trained, we get a chart showing the model accuracy. So with almost 100% confidence, we can say that these are correct. We've got our confusion matrix, which shows us false negatives and false positives, and also the forecast clustering here. This is designed to be utilized by data scientists, but allows us to see where the discharges and admits lie. And if we select any one of these, it takes us to the actual case details. Now, how this forecast is used from a filtering perspective, from an analysis perspective. Once the system has been trained, you can choose to filter based on whatever kind of confidence threshold you want to set. In this case, it is automatically set to 95%, and we can adjust this accordingly. And then I want to see all the outcomes which have been admitted with a 95% or greater confidence. So once I define admit and my threshold, I apply the filter. And now I get a filter set of data which shows me the 5,000 plus patients which are going to be admitted based on that 95% threshold that we've set. We can take this a step further and choose to save this as a set of data, our 95% plus forecast admits. And then use that set of data to define as an alert, which will then utilize that set that we've just defined to notify us that as soon as any patient that's come into the emergency department hits or exceeds that 95% threshold, they're going to be admitted into the hospital